What's going on, you guys? Jay here and welcome back to the channel. So don't forget to smash the like button and subscribe if you haven't already. And if you get an opportunity on the way out, drop a little comment. Let us know what you're up to. Let us know how your Christmas is going. Have you broken up for work? Have you got plans? Let us know what you're doing. I'm currently going through the motions of traveling, preparing to travel, going through between destinations. So it's a bit hit and miss when I'm actually getting time to create content at the moment. A lot of you are probably wondering, when is that darn pesky Apple listing coming, Jay? When are you going to be pushing that out? And ultimately, it's outside of the realm of control. It's not something I have any say or sway over at this point. We're merely just waiting for Apple to go ahead and give us the final thumbs up. They have put out a disclaimer, a warning, whatever you want to call it, more or less saying that they're going to be slow paced over Christmas. There's probably going to be a lot of people who are submitting at the same time. So when that comes through, it comes through. If you want to get on the spot updates with LUNCDash, everything that's going on, follow the Twitter, go into the Telegram group, join that, make sure they're the official ones for our official handle. Links to that all in the description. So I'll keep you up to date and I'll get you updated the second there's any changes here on the channel as well, but you're definitely going to be able to hear it there first. Now, moving forward, everybody's talking about the same process we just seem to go through every so often, and it's really becoming
Oh shit, here we go again.
An insanity loop, if you will. And of course, this is the 1.5% burn rate that different people want to see on chain. It's not just a proposer. We have to understand that a lot of other people would like to see this put on chain. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you the pros and I'm going to give you the cons to this situation in hand, because a lot of people are just mostly against it, or they're with it. There's not really anybody who's talking sense in between and going, look, these are actually the facts of a situation, and this is really what's going to be the end result of this fast-paced decision that the usual suspects would like to see. Now, again, am I saying a burn tax rate is bad? Of course not. Our chain is born from this narrative. It's something that we're going to have to stick to it regardless of how anybody feels. I'm going to be providing another video going over another subject to do with burn tax, so keep an eye out for that later today. We're going to be talking a lot about burn taxes and really just trying to give you guys an honest perspective on this thing. So again, I don't think burn taxes are bad. And again, if we just decided to ourselves, well, let's just get rid of it, it's not going to go down well, not only for the user base, right, but for different CEXs that may or may not be providing burns in the future. As you all know, previously MEXC did burn until they changed to a no fee basis. There's always the possibility in the future they could go back to burning. So again, you don't really want to cut the bridge, so to speak. You always want to leave that lane open. You want to be able to go over that bridge to the other side and come back in a peaceful manner. And again, we could lose Binance in the process of stopping burning. So let's really discuss this subject and really give you my perspective on this. And the first thing that I want to point out is there's not much effort behind this. There's no data. There's no Commonwealth discussion. There's nothing out there publicly to say that this person has put a lot of time and energy, effort into what they're proposing. They've looked at the pros, they've looked at the cons, and they're saying to themselves, well, the pros actually outweigh the cons. But from my perspective, again, a 1.5% burn tax is actually a very bad idea. And also, again, a 1.2% burn tax is probably not going to be a good idea at this moment in time. And if you was, and this is the only way I see it really being beneficial, is that you would have every CX on board with the tax change. And this is the biggest no-no for me when it comes down to making such a drastic change, is the fact that there's such a little amount of data, and it really takes about 10 minutes to go in and understand and really show people that we've got all of these CEX listings, all of them. And the current situation right now is we've got a substantial amount of coins sitting off chain. There's just over probably 1.2 trillion LUNC on chain, and most of that is actually staked, as a lot of you know. So again, we've got all of these CXs, right, that don't actually abide by the burn tax that we have in place currently. So the biggest objective, knowing now that we've got all of these CXs, knowing how many coins are actually over on different CXs, when we go in, we look at the top holders for LUNC, we can see there's 2.1 trillion, okay, sat on Binance alone. So what does this tell you if you incorporate a burn tax, which is 1.5% that no other CEX is applying? Well, this tells me it would be idiotic for me to move any of my coins on chain to do anything, period, when I could just keep them on a CEX and not actually be subject to that new burn tax. And that is exactly what would happen if you incorporate a burn tax, which is so substantial that no CEX is abiding by. All this does is create a negative effect which pushes people back onto the CEXs. This isn't the goal. The overall goal is to get as much of that 2.1 trillion either burned or brought on chain. There's no in between. If it's getting brought on chain, the likelihood is it's going to be subject to more burns in the future as it begins to move around. And just like I said, right, this has a huge effect on people like Binance. Although they are whitelisted, right, they still have to support these kind of things in public. As we see them previously with any upgrades that we do, they always tweet out, yes, we will be supporting the Terra Classic upgrade, and we want you to know that. And again, they would probably come out publicly and say, look, we're not supporting this 1.5% burn tax, but we'll continue supporting in our own way. It's negative media we don't need. It could create in itself a sense of hysteria. We've all been there, we've been subject to it, and we've seen it play out many, many times over the course of the past 3 years. So my current perspective on this is the 1.5% burn tax would be the stupidest move we could make. And we see so many validators that are pro burn that just aren't simply thinking this out and saying to themselves, well, yeah, actually, why would someone subject themselves to a 1.5% burn tax when they could simply just not? When they could simply stay on a CEX, when they could simply not stake, they could simply not want to involve themselves with our ecosystem because the taxes have just got so high. And it's again the same for any projects coming on board, and any projects that have currently got anything deployed on chain, they're going to have to rewrite a lot of their contracts. We saw people, I think, like Lunapunks that were failing really to keep up with all of the upgrades, the burn tax changes, and they just really have given up at this point from what I understand. You might know something I don't know, I could be wrong there, but that's the last kind of basis understanding that I had of the situation. And what we don't want to see is that happen again, because each time we make these idiotic changes, we're kind of chipping away and chiseling away at the project base, the user base, people getting tired of seeing it flip-flop back and forward. And instead of someone going, okay, well, let's not go around in circles, let's try change the burn tax. All right, we can't change it, let's try remove it. Oh, well, we can't move it. Oh, maybe we should do a USTC repeg. And then by the time we get to a point when the person's like, okay, the repeg's ready, it likely ends up with, well, actually, we need money for a team. This team doesn't want to do it, so we've got to find another team. And by the time you've lost interest in that, you guessed it, we're back at someone going, well, you know, let's put the burn tax up. My current perspective and understanding, as I've educated many of you on here on the channel many, many times over, is you need a Goldilocks system. There's never going to be a situation where the porridge is perfect. You're never, ever going to find yourself in that situation. But what you can do is compensate for that kind of situation. Binance is probably most important, but all of these CEXs you're seeing here are just as important. We're very fortunate that we're listed everywhere still. After the crash, one of the biggest crashes in crypto history, and we've still got all of our listings. And this is why I really find it laughable when someone's like, oh, you know, I'm going to create another DEX, we really need it. So, well, we don't, because we have all of the coins already distributed. They're already on CEXs. They're already being circulated. You're not limited to the purchasing of LUNC. Anywhere on the globe, you can go and purchase LUNC. There is somewhere decentralized or centralized that you can go and do it. What we don't have is it all happening specifically on chain and the chain managing absolutely everything as previously done with the market module. Something a lot of people hype up and kind of misunderstand, that we don't really need to fix the market module. We just need the chain to serve itself. Instead of Terra swaps serving all of the swapping, the chain should have its own, like I said many times, classic port. It's so easy to, if you've got the money, of course, you've got the developers, to actually go and put time, energy, and effort into making wholehearted changes to the system that could really make a difference. I see a lot of people talking about the long run. I think there's something going on with Levi at the moment with his burn project he started, and him saying, well, we're actually investing all of the money into BTC for the long run, and that's what the LUNC holders want to see. But again, this goes back to my previous video of saying LUNC must go green, where I explain about the 10th man, this need, right, for someone to stop committing to the idea that the chain is in fact a goner. And that's why a lot of these people who are a little bit above everything, they've been down this road a few times, and they attach themselves to what they believe are dying things that they can leech off. You've seen it, you're subject to it, you've watched it happen many times over. Every USTC repeg has been a scam at this point, and we're probably going to see many more attempts in the future. But these kind of burn tax changes are far more idiotic from my perspective, again, because I can think of so many more reasons. I could probably talk for another 30-40 minutes about why it's idiotic to change the burn tax right now at this moment in time. All of this should have been done in preparation leading up to the bull run, as I said, not as the market's kind of in a movement where no one can really go to, this is where we are right now on the map. No one could go to right now, hey, look, this is exactly where we are, because there's no historical data. There is no indicator that has ever worked this high up on the chart. And what I mean by that is BTC's never been in this zone before. Okay, going back even further, back before that, and really looking into things and saying to yourselves, we just don't know where we are at this moment in time. We could be just before the previous halving event. So we could be just at this first zone here, this first 100% pump. But again, we could be here in the middle, but who knows? We could be at the top of this thing, and trying to make a drastic change like this right now is idiotic. And anybody voting yes to it, yeah, you're a moron. You haven't thought about this. You're not thinking about how this actually affects the on-chain scenario, the layer one chain. And a lot of these people that are voting yes, and a lot of the people that are bickering about it, again, they don't have projects. And if they do have projects, right, it's an L2, it's got its own coin, it's got its own ecosystem. If the chain dies, it's more beneficial for these guys. So for them, the easier they can make it for themselves to either produce monetization or gain more monetization is better for them. For the proposer, when you look at it, again, he can go back to his acolytes, his following, his flock, and he can say to them, well, look, I'm trying to do this, but these guys aren't letting me. What I'm really trying to get at is the burn tax is not something I'm going to be supporting at this moment in time. Is there a moment in the future where all of this could work and be beneficial? Absolutely. But I do think it comes in the form of a burn tax, which is adaptive, which is smart, it's unique. We live in different times where we've got all of this AI technology available, all of these different solutions, and technology that is effectively limitless. And we kind of want to limit it with this definitive burn tax. We're like, that's the perfect point, and that's always going to be the perfect point. Well, once the market does what it does and it excels like crazy, and eventually we get the pullback. The pullback we all know is coming before BTC finds its new floor and starts tracking sideways into the next 4.5 years, right? It's at that point when you don't really want to have a high burn tax. You want to try to incentivize all of the people that bought Lunar Classic to keep Lunar Classic, or at least keep a portion of their back. As time goes on, as really you begin to separate the wheat from the chaff, it's going to start to show. You're going to start to see who's been there to build for the chain, who's built for their back pocket, who built an L2, who didn't build an L2, and who really just simply remain committed to the idea that everything should serve LUNC until LUNC reaches a point where it can better serve the entire ecosystem. Because again, we would all profit from such a change if we all work together collectively to actually boost the chain up, get the Oracle rewards pool to go green, and all of these other amazing things. Well, as an end result and a continuing kind of increase would be the factor of your rewards, which for a lot of these validators is why they're here. They're here to gain money, to pay their mortgages, to pay for their houses. And as long as they can talk on X, that's absolutely fine. As long as you support them, they don't really need to do anything. And, this all begins to set the factor, the limits. But I really do think that at some point the community is just going to go to themselves. This is ridiculous, and we really do need to start supporting builders. And it's just a matter of time before people start to realize and wake up that a lot of these people are just playing all of their community. They're not here for the greater good of the ecosystem. But again, let me know what you think about this burn tax change. Do you think people would be more inclined to come on chain with a 1.5% burn tax, or would they be more inclined to stay off chain where there isn't any burn taxes that they're subject to unless they make a withdrawal order or deposit, which in their case, and from my perspective, you would only move between CEXs maybe for arbitrage opportunities, or if you were trying to buy a meme coin on Solana and you've got to send your LUNC to a CEX to change it into Solana to whatever. Those are the kind of routes we really need to start thinking about. That's what I'm thinking about. That's what Project Remedy is all about, is getting access to all of these coins that are off chain, accessing a new user base, introducing a new narrative, and showing people that one person can make a difference. That 10th man can really say to themselves, I'm done with all of this circular kind of let's change the burn tax, let's remove the burn tax, let's repeg a broken thing, and I'm done. But again, I'll report on it all. I'll give you my perspective. I'll stay honest, and I'll just keep it coming at you as it's coming out of my head. And aside that, guys, just stay safe, stay humble, stay aware, and I'll catch you in the next one. Ciao.